Let's pretend that this is your writing task 2 question. Many people believe that online learning is better than classroom learning. Then you write your introduction like this. Many people believe that online learning is better than classroom learning. Is this a good introduction? No, obviously not, because you've just copied the question. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to paraphrase step by step so you don't make this mistake in your own writing task 2 questions. But first, what is paraphrasing? Well, paraphrasing means saying something again using different words or grammar while keeping the same meaning or a very similar meaning. Now, there are 2 main reasons why you should not copy in the IELTS test. The first one is obviously it keeps your writing your own. It keeps your writing original. The IELTS test is about your English level, not somebody else's English level. So that means you need to use your own words rather than using the words of someone else. And secondly, it does not show the examiner your vocabulary range or your grammar range. Anyone can copy. Anyone can just write the same words that they see. To show the examiner your level of English, you need to use your own vocabulary and grammar. So now we know what paraphrasing is, and we know why you shouldn't copy where possible. Let's move on to how to actually paraphrase. The first step is to read and understand the question or sentence. Most of the time in IELTS writing, you will be paraphrasing a question. So that's what we'll look at in this lesson. On the screen now, you can see that we have a writing task 2 question. Some people believe that online education will replace traditional classrooms in the future. Do you agree or disagree? So before we do anything, make sure you really understand what this question is saying. Just try to think of the overall meaning. Try to picture it in your head and think of, students studying online. Once we've done that, then we can move on to step number 2, which is identify keywords and phrases. Now we understand what the question means. The next step is to find the keywords and phrases. Now, keywords are words which have the main meaning of the question. So for this question, the main ideas are online education, traditional classrooms, replace, and also future is important as well. These are the main, or this is the main focus of the question. Now, please note, you don't need to paraphrase every single word, because if you do that, it can change the meaning and can even make the sentence sound a bit unnatural or confusing. So now we know the keywords, so let's move on to step 3, which is think about the meaning in your own words. Before you start doing anything, just take a second and try to think about the meaning in your own words. This is a really important step that a lot of students just don't do. Most students just try to find the synonyms as quickly as possible. Instead, ask yourself, how would I explain this question to a friend in English? So before I show you what popped into my head when I was creating this lesson, just quickly pause the video and think about how would you explain this to a friend? Well, for me, I would say a lot of people believe that maybe in the next decade or so, students will study on computers instead of actually going to school. This is how I would explain it to another person in my own words. Now, when you can do this, it really shows that you understand the question. And don't worry if it's not perfect. It's just to get you thinking at the moment. Now, let's move on to the next step, which is use paraphrasing techniques. Sometimes the version you create in step 3 will be more than good enough. However, if it's not, you can use these strategies to paraphrase. The first one is using synonyms. So if we look at this original sentence here, it says the class was very boring. Well, let's think about some synonyms for class and very boring. We could say the lesson was extremely dull. So we've changed class to lesson and very boring to dull. The next way you can change, or the next way you can paraphrase, is by you changing the structure. So she couldn't come because she was sick. We could change that to because of her illness. She wasn't able to attend. You can see here that we've put the because at the start, and we've also replaced sick with illness. We've used a synonym here. And also, instead of saying couldn't come, we've said wasn't able to attend. Parts of speech. Sometimes if you can't think of a synonym, the best way to paraphrase is to change the parts of speech. For example, change a verb to a noun or change a noun to a verb. He gave a clear explanation. We could change explanation to explain, which is a verb, and we could change clear, which is an adjective, to clearly, which is an adverb. So we have changed the parts of speech of two of the words here. Combining, so you can join two sentences together. I missed the bus. I arrived late. These are clearly two separate sentences. Well, we could join them together. I arrived late because I missed the bus. And finally, you can use the passive voice. They built the school in 1995, and the school was built in 1995 is the paraphrased version. Please note with the last two methods, you cannot just use one of those methods and then think that you have paraphrased. No, because you're still using the exact same words. So if you're going to combine or use the passive voice, you also should use some of the other methods and mainly the synonym method, so you don't just copy exactly what you see, but change the structure. All right, now let's have a look at how we can use some of these techniques to paraphrase our original question. So we're not going to use just one technique, we're going to use more than one. So here's my final paraphrase. It's commonly thought that virtual learning will take place of face-to-face classes in the coming years. You'll notice that I didn't just change one word. No, I changed a few different things. So let's talk about it. I replaced online education with virtual learning. So I'm using synonyms here. I changed replace to take the place of. So again, I'm using synonyms. I changed traditional classrooms to face-to-face classes. And finally, instead of saying future, I said the coming years. And also note, I haven't just used synonyms. I have not just used synonyms. I've added in the passive voice and changed the structure of the first part by saying it's commonly thought. Using the passive voice is a great way and a very simple way to show a higher level of grammar. So as you can see, I have used two main methods here. I have used synonyms and I have changed the structure. And a lot of the time, that will be the best way to make a paraphrase. You mainly use synonyms, and then you can also change the structure as well. So just remember that when you paraphrase, a lot of the time you can and should use more than just one method. So now we have finished the paraphrase. We've got one more step to do if we have time, which is check the meaning and the grammar. Finally, always check that your paraphrase has the same meaning as the original question, because sometimes when students change too many words, the meaning becomes different or unclear. Also, make sure your grammar is correct, especially if you have changed the sentence structure or word form. Just having a quick read through in your head or even reading it aloud can help you to catch or see any small mistakes. Speaking of mistakes, let me quickly show you some common mistakes that students make when it comes to paraphrasing. So some students try to change every single word. But when you do that, the original meaning can change and you can lose the original meaning. Remember, you do not have to change every single word. Next, using unnatural or confusing synonyms that you don't really understand. Remember, just keep things simple. Don't try to make things too complicated or complex. Number 3 is copying the question with almost no change. We've talked about this and why it's a problem. So remember, don't just copy if possible. The only time you should copy the question is if you just cannot think of anything, if you cannot paraphrase. Never just sit there not doing anything. You need to write something. If you cannot think of anything, just copy the question or copy some of the question. And finally, making grammar mistakes after changing the structure. Always check what you have written. It only takes a few seconds and it could help you to avoid common mistakes. Now, just one last thing to mention. When you are doing these 5 steps, it should not take you long at all. You should do this very, very quickly. Doing a paraphrase should not take you 10 minutes. It should not take you 5 minutes. It should probably take you no more than 1 minute, because in the writing test, you've only got 40 minutes to do your writing task 2, and that's not a lot of time, especially if English is not your first language. So that was how to paraphrase step by step, which is very important if you want to write a good essay. If you want to learn some other techniques you can use to improve your writing task 2 score, check out this video right here. Thanks for watching. I really hope this lesson was useful and see you in the next one.